Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dabo Swinney, the Clemson Tigers, absolutely cooking on the recruiting trail, landing two massive commitments on the offensive line Sunday afternoon, highlighted by four-star offensive tackle Braden Jacobs from the state of Georgia, the son of Super Bowl champion Braden Jacobs, and a guy that kind of brings to the table traits that you can't really teach, right? 6'7", 310 pounds, carries that 310 pounds exceptionally well. And when you have the opportunity to grab an offensive tackle who is 6'7", with the length that Braden Jacobs has, who is also an extremely fluid athlete, you have to capitalize. Matt Luke, the massive hire by Dabo Swinney, really getting to work building this offensive line. Want to dive into the film, talk a little bit about what Braden Jacobs and Jaylen Beckley bring to the table. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. And this Clemson Tigers program is seemingly to get busy over the next couple weeks on the recruiting trail. We talked about Ari Watford the other day. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support. If you all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We will continue to keep you guys as updated as possible with these Clemson Tiger commitments. And without further ado, let's get into Braden Jacobs first. And this is one of my favorite offensive tackles. And as I've kind of dug into this 2025 class, what stands out to Braden Jacobs is he is a guy with elite traits and an elite frame, right? 6'7", long arms, 310 pounds. He is a guy that you can still tell he's still learning how to utilize that frame that he brings to the table, but you can teach him a lot of that stuff. What you can't teach is the 6'7" frame, the 33-plus inch arms. That's what excites you the most about a guy like Braden Jacobs. And you get into the film, and a couple of things that you notice that you really like is, one, he has a wrestling background, and you can tell he's very good using his hands, right? And many of y'all who've been listening for the last couple of months, when we evaluate offensive linemen, the ones with wrestling backgrounds are kind of sometimes the ones who are my favorites. One, they're just elite athletes. Two, they know how to play with leverage, and they know how to use their hands. And Braden Jacobs kind of displays that a ton throughout the film. Now, you fire the film up, and one, you're going to see how explosive he is lining up at that left tackle spot, just kind of washing down that whole offensive line. Very explosive out of his stance for somebody who is 6'7". That's probably what stands out the most. And you don't normally see guys who are 6'7" get out of their stance like Braden Jacobs does. And right here, again, on a little RPO action, you see what he can do getting out of that stance, using that length, and really just getting underneath, and plays with really good pad level. And again, it's rare to see 6'7" offensive tackles play with good pad level at the high school level. But as a wrestler, you know he understands how to use that leverage. And that's kind of what Braden Jacobs brings to the table. Again, fluid athlete in space. You see him moving there. Carries 310 pounds exceptionally well. Next couple of reps that you see, here's a little combo block where he wins off the line of scrimmage, and then he works up to the linebackers, and that stuff is rare. So as we fire this play up, what you see is him getting out of his stance, moving in, and kind of winning at the point of attack, something we said we want to see Clemson do a little bit more of, and then kind of work up to the second level. And this is rare, right? Winning at the point of attack, working up to get to that linebacker, helmet on a helmet, and puts the guy in the dirt. That's the type of stuff that you don't see, and that's the type of stuff you want to see in textbooks, and Braden Jacobs brings that to the table. So you're getting a guy that, one, elite physical traits in terms of the frame that he has, but more importantly, a polished offensive lineman that can do a lot of stuff that not a lot of 6'7" offensive linemen display on the high school film. Probably what stands out the most, and you see him get out in space. He's a little nasty in him, just putting a guy in the dirt. This is a really exciting commitment, and you take a look at another commitment that Clemson just lands is Jaylen Beckley. And this is a guy that doesn't have a ranking according to 24/7 Sports, but I'll tell you this, the offer sheet is a lot better than his ranking according to 24/7 Sports, right? You take a look at some of the schools that have offered Jaylen Beckley, the Auburn Tigers, the Tennessee Volunteers. This was a guy that was very coveted by a lot of Power 5 programs, and you got to give a lot of credit to Matt Luke. A guy like Jaylen Beckley, maybe a little bit under the radar. Matt Luke identifies a talent in the state of Texas and goes out and lands it. And you take a look at this 2025 class, and again, this is where Dabo Swinney, the time period where he really likes to start building these classes. And we talked about a guy like Ari Watford the other day. It's a top 3 class right now, and it is really filling out. And you're seeing the emphasis on the line of scrimmage, right? Ari Watford, Amari Adams, Braden Jacobs on the offensive line, Easton Ware. You have your quarterback locked in. And Clemson wants to get back to kind of dominating the line of scrimmage. And that's being reflected in the athletes and the guys that they're going after in this recruiting class. And you take a look at one other top target that Clemson's going after, and that's five-star offensive tackle David Sanders, the '1 offensive tackle in the 2025 class from Providence Day in North Carolina. And a guy that is a little bit different from a guy like Braden Jacobs, 6'6", only 270 pounds, elite athlete. And this is a guy that was on campus for the Clemson Tigers this weekend. It sounds like Clemson is probably in the driver's seat for a guy like David Sanders Jr. And again, I think Matt Luke and that hire by Dabo Swinney was absolutely massive. Because what does Matt Luke sell to these guys? Not only are you coming to one of the stronger cultures in college football, but more importantly, on the offensive line. I mean, Matt Luke, during his time at Ole Miss and during his time at Georgia, has developed multiple NFL draft picks on the offensive line. And that is still, in the era of NIL, like that is still what a lot of these kids care about, is where can I go to school to get developed as an NFL prospect? And David Sanders Jr., a guy who's a five-star coming out of high school, that's what he wants. And again, it sounds like Clemson is in the driver's seat for this one, and it is massive to see what Clemson is doing, building that offensive line class in the 2025 cycle. Really excited about the next couple of weeks for the Clemson Tigers. Again, we'll continue to keep you guys updated as Clemson continues to make moves in that 2025 class. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.